credit score is somewhere between 600 and 650, you might be wondering what cards can you actually have a realistic shot at getting. And I don't want to make one of those videos where I give you two cards but never really tell you what kind of credit you actually need. So we're talking about numbers today. I'm going to give you the credit score range I'd realistically be looking at for each one, the credit limits available or reported, the APR fees, rewards, and what I'll actually like or don't like about each of these cards. Just remember, the score range I'm giving you are a guide based on the type of credit profile these lenders typically target or report it. Just remember, the score range I'm giving you are a guide based on the type of profiles these products target and report experiences when available. They're not guaranteed approval scores. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the first credit card. Come on. All right. The first card we're going to be talking about is the Brightway Plus MasterCard. Now, if your credit score is somewhere between 600 and 650, this is definitely one I think is worth knowing about. Let's start with the credit score because I know that's what everybody wants to know. There's not one guaranteed minimum score where I can tell you if you have this score, you are going to be approved. But we actually have approved data to work with here. People matching with Brightway Plus have an average credit score around 609, and the most common score in that data is around 579. So for this video, I am definitely comfortable with putting this card in roughly the 580 to mid 600 credit score range. And that's why I included it for somebody sitting between 600 and 650. Now that does not mean everybody with a 609 is getting approved. Your credit score isn't the only thing that's on your credit profile, but at least now you have an actual range to work with instead of me telling you you need a fair credit and leaving it at that. Now let's talk about those limits because this part gets very interesting. When we look at people matched with Brightway Plus and similar cards, the average starting limit is around $2,000. But don't hear $2,000 and think that's automatically going to be your starting limit. The most common limit in that same data was actually $300. And I've also seen real card holders experiences around the 500 and 1,000 starting limit range, including someone with rebuilding with scores ranging from the high 500s into the 600s who reported getting a $1,000 Brightway Plus limit. So with a Brightway card, your limit can vary a lot. That's something I want you to understand before applying. And here's where this card gets more interesting. Brightway Plus gives you an opportunity to work towards higher limits after 6 consecutive qualifying payments. Eligible cardholders can unlock a milestone. After 6 consecutive qualifying payments, eligible cardholders can unlock a milestone benefit. One of those options can be a credit limit increase, and the program allow credit limits to potentially grow as high as $15,000 over time. Now, that doesn't mean you're opening this card tomorrow with a $15,000 limit. That's completely different. I'm talking about the maximum the credit line can potentially reach through the program. So if you're starting with 500 or 1,000, responsible use and qualifying payments can potentially give you room to grow over time. That's why I explain the highest limit to viewers because 15,000 is much more useful than pretending somebody is likely to start there. Now let's talk about something I really like about the Plus version. There is no annual fee. And make sure you hear me say Brightway Plus because there are different Brightway products available on their website. The regular Brightway card can have an annual fee depending on the offer. Brightway Plus has a $0 annual fee. That's important to me because if I'm rebuilding my credit, I don't necessarily want to pay every year just for the privilege of keeping the account open. Now, here's the part I don't love. The purchase APR starts out at 35.99%, and that is extremely high. So this is definitely not a card where I would say, oh, they gave me $2,000. Let me go spend $2,000. Absolutely not. If I were using this card for credit building, I would put purchases on it that I already had the money to pay for and pay my statement balances in full by the due date whenever if possible. Because once you're carrying a balance at 35.99%, you're paying a lot of money in interest. But there is something I actually like about how Brightway Plus works. Remember those 6 qualifying payments I just talked about? One milestone option could be a higher credit limit. The other can be a lower purchase AP. So they're basically giving you something to work with here. Make qualifying payments. Reach the milestone. Then if you're eligible, you can choose the benefit that makes the most sense for you. Personally, if I wasn't carrying balances, I'd probably be more interested in credit limit increases. Because if I had $1,000 limit, eventually got that increased while keeping my spending the same, I'd have more available credit without needing to go apply for another credit card. And you're not completely giving up rewards either. Brightway Plus earns cash back on qualifying purchases. So even though I would choose this card specifically because of the rewards, that's still a nice little extra. Brightway current reward terms confirm Brightway Plus principle in its cashback and milestone reward program. So here's what I personally feel about the Brightway Plus card. If my credit score was somewhere around 600 to 650, yes, I would consider checking this one. We've got real matching data showing an average credit score around 609. We've seen limits ranging from a few $100s into thousands. There's no annual fee on the Plus version. And most importantly, for somebody rebuilding, there's an actual path towards higher limits over time. The biggest thing I do not like about this card is the 35.99% AP. That's why I would treat this card strictly as a credit building tool. I'm not getting this card because I need to spend extra money. I'm not getting it because I want another positive account report into my credit profile. If I use it responsibly and eventually unlock higher limits, even better. Now, the second card is really where things get really interesting because we're potentially talking about a much larger amount of available credit. But this one works differently from a normal revolving credit card, and I don't want anybody applying without understanding that difference. So let's go ahead and get into the Upgrade Cash Reward Visa. So before we even talk about limits, I want to explain that part because I don't want anybody applying for this card and then wondering why it doesn't work exactly like the other card in your wallet. You can use it anywhere Visa is accepted, but instead of carrying a traditional revolving balance, your purchases are paid back through fixed rate installment plans. Think of it as combining some of the flexibility of a credit card with the structured payments of a personal loan. Now let's get straight to what everybody wants to know. What credit score should I have? For this video, I'm putting upgrade in roughly the 600s to 650 plus conversation. I would personally feel more comfortable checking it once I'm somewhere in the low 600s or even better. That doesn't mean 600 is a guaranteed approval number. Your score is only one part of the decision. Your credit history, how much debt you carry, your income, and the rest of your credit profile can affect your offer you receive. But if you're sitting around 620, 630, 640, or 650, I wouldn't automatically assume this card is out of reach. And here's something I really like for somebody in that range. You could check for an offer with no impact to your credit score. If you're pre-approved, you will see the amount you're offered in the APR deciding whether to move forward with this card or not. That's what I want when I'm unsure whether I'm going to qualify or not. Let me see what you're offering me first. I don't want to blindly submit an application. Now let's get to the part I know you all want to know. How much can you actually get? Upgrade doesn't give everybody the same amount. Your offer is based on your credit profile, credit usage, and other factors. And the nice thing is, if you're pre-approved, you will actually see your credit line amount be moving forward. I've seen older and individual cardholders report of upgrade approval reaching into the tens of thousands of dollars, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you everybody can get $25,000 or even $30,000. That is not realistic. But What matters is the amount upgrade actually show you when you check your offer. And especially if you're sitting in that 600 to 650 range, I will go into this looking for an offer that makes sense for my profile, not expecting the highest limit somebody with excellent credit posted online. Let's say I'm approved for an amount and I start using the card. With a normal revolving credit card, I make a payment and that available credit normally is now available. Upgrade doesn't automatically work that way. Each purchase can become part of a closed end loan that I'm paying back in installment. And as I repay it, additional credit may become available up to my approved amount as long as I continue meeting the credit requirement. But Upgrade does specifically say that the available credit, like a normal revolving credit card, may not be available. That's probably the most important thing in this entire section. So please don't get this card thinking, oh, this works exactly like my Capital One card, because it doesn't. Understand what you're signing up for. Now, here is something that I do like. No annual fees. That's simple. If I'm looking at products for something working with a 600 to 650 score, I love when I can avoid paying an annual fee just to keep the account open. The current cash reward product advertises a $0 annual fee, and you can earn 1.5% cash back on purchases. That's another thing I like, because we're not talking about some rebuilding product that gives you absolutely nothing back. The current cash reward card offers unlimited 3% cash back earned as eligible purchases are paid back. Now, is 3% going to make you rich? Absolutely not. But if I'm already buying something I needed anyways, I'll take my cash back. So here's where I land with Upgrade. If my credit score was somewhere around 600 to 650, yes, I would check my offer, especially because checking for an offer itself doesn't impact my credit score. Did I get approved? So let me see. Did I get pre-approved? How much did they offer me? What's my interest rate? What repayment terms am I getting? Then I can decide whether it actually makes sense or not. But this is not the product I'd pick simply because I wanted another traditional credit card. That's the biggest thing I want you all to remember here. If you're looking for something that works exactly like a regular revolving credit card, might not be what you're expecting. But if you like the idea of having structured installment payments instead of carrying a revolving balance, that's where I think this becomes more interesting. So between the Brightway Plus and the Upgrade, these are very two different products. Brightway Plus feels more like a traditional credit card for building your credit. Upgrade gives you more of something different: payments, cash back, and the ability to check your offer first. So which one would I choose really depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. So those are the two cards I wanted to put on your radar today: Brightway Plus and Upgrade Cash Reward. And honestly, I wanted to keep this video at 2 because these cards are completely different. If I wanted something that felt more like a traditional credit card, I was more focused mainly on rebuilding. Brightway Plus would be probably the first one I will look at. If I like the idea of checking my offer first, getting access to a large amount, earning cash back, and paying purchases back through structured payments, then Up would be the one I'll look at. But remember, if your score is between 600 and 650, don't apply just because you heard me mention a card. Look at your entire credit profile. Check for pre-qualifications when it's available, and make sure the fees and interest makes sense for you. Now, I would love to hear from you all if you've been approved for either of these cards. What was your credit score? What credit limit did they give you? Put it all down below in the comments, because that's going to help somebody. And if you all want another video like this where I share credit card information for people with a lower credit score, make sure that you let me know down below in the comments, because I already have some more that we can talk about. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye!